Hi Anti-Society, welcome back to the Antisocial Planet, and today we are getting to some more Tower of God webtoon. We got Urek showing up against Heljo. We got a past there, which, I mean, I don't know how that's gonna turn out, given that Heljo seems like a little bit of a loose cannon, but there's also some reference to that he used to be a little bit different before all of the powers and stuff happened, which, given the kind of struggle that we've seen with Bomb of all the internal stuff going on and nightmare fuel going on of speaking to your inner powers and abilities and all that, maybe that's tied up in what's going on. I don't know, but I'm excited to see what this showdown is like. All right, Evan assessing what's going on, a little bit of a moment happening because we've agreed to something before fully knowing the details. I didn't think that she would know Urek either, given the whole like princesses versus irregulars thing, but you know what, she has been doing her own stuff for a little bit, right? Like, she's not exactly part of the princesses and jihad as like a general thing, right? Casual, just being like, what up? Yeah, a little bit. He's given a little bit more demon than I feel like he did last time y'all saw each other. Honestly, valid reaction from Lady Yuri there. The casual, like, I heard some bad news about you. I've heard rumors and I was like, I don't know if I want that in my life. A little bit awkward situation to deny that's what's happening. Oh, we promised to be benevolent. And I feel like maybe he twisted it though, because he is thinking, I'm going to figure out a way to get everybody out. Like, the main goal for him is, I want to leave this place. And that includes like getting everyone else an opportunity to leave too, right? If he can get everyone's soul back that wants it, then everybody gets to leave. So you can see the justification of, I am doing something for the benefit of everyone. I feel like maybe if we presented that slightly like a disgruntled child, it might have gone over better. Also, confident to have known Urek and be like, I'll fight you. I understand that we're dealing with some administrator level power here, but also strong words. You know what? Change of plan. Yeah, what I say. Never trust when we can only see one eye, okay? And also, he's not joking anymore, and I think that says a lot about Urek. Like, the moment that he becomes serious, that's when I get worried. It's giving God complex, which hasn't gone over well for anyone. The casual baby. I know translations aren't always everything, but like the casual way where he's just like throwing out like slang and endearments and stuff, and everyone's just like, huh? Are you supposed to be scary? You're it, Bomb, when it comes to being able to use Shinsu. The dynamic of those two as well. Didn't we see him at like 1% before? And he doesn't need to go undercover anymore. Heljo knows he's there. I guess there's still like other things at play, but if he's announcing that he's around, right, then he doesn't need to be as stealth as before. And we saw the absolute crazy damage right when he was up against Kuraka. So I just feel like maybe he doesn't. Maybe he's fine without Shinsu. Maybe we can finally be in his vicinity if he can't use Shinsu. I do like I thought we were gonna get something useful to help us. He'll get there. Yeah, I feel like it's gonna be a bad day for you, Heljo. Yeah, something's coming. He threw something at us. I didn't need special eyes for that. Though I guess maybe it's moving faster in real life. I said it, and then I remembered we're reading fiction. Within the reality of the work of fiction, it may be moving faster, in which case it would be helpful to have someone who could see slightly into the future. Look, sometimes I'm smart, and I figure things out, and then other times I'm just dumb, like everyone else. And it's fine. We're all just figuring out this story as we go. There's a lot happening. Move, zigzag, wait, I have to talk to him. The Bump's just like, I can't take care of another one of you, okay? I can't literally carry the team again. Ooh, interesting to say I already tried my best. I feel like that's a pointed statement that we're gonna have to loop back to. Because I guess we don't really know like the story of what happened between Heljo getting his power and when we met up with him when he was like reading comics and stuff. Right, he'd like basically given up. Okay. That's true. There is like a splitting of the factions happening. So there are definitely people who are like, let's just stick to what there was. Even we saw with the people who were like with Heljo, right? There was like a disagreement of who wanted to get their soul back and who didn't, who saw like freedom is more important than like immortality, right? There's a bunch of different opinions on what's going on, even within the people who like ultimately are like, we like serve Heljo or like we're on his side, right? There's still like disagreement of what that means. It's a delicate balance of both inspiring change and like giving people the confidence to shift into something that is new and letting people have like free will, right? And I say this as someone who, if you put me in charge, and I usually end up being put in charge because I'm more of an analytical thinker than anything else. And I'm like, how do we get this done? But because of that, I'm not always the best at not ordering people around or being told what to do. I'm very bad with authority. So again, there's this delicate balance you have to acknowledge, though, of both wanting to lead towards a common goal with people, but also you need to give them like the free will to make their own decisions. And even like I said, within the people who are following Heljo or like on the same side as him, they have different ideas of what they want, right? And what freedom means and what they're working towards. So it's not like you can make everyone who's like on the same side have the same goals. Even within like Bomb and his team, right? Like people have different things that they're going after and things that they want. And sometimes those like butt heads against each other, and other times it's like, how do we navigate this situation so that everybody gets what they're looking for, and we're not like confining someone to, we have to do what Bomb is after, or we have to do what Kun is after, or whatever. Like we have to balance it out so that it's not just one person getting what they're after and everyone else just has to put up with it. Oh yeah. Is this a bad time to bring up the fact that the ladle is good? Do we know that the ladle is good? No, that was the other team. I gotta keep track of who knows what, okay? The problem with this series is there's such a big cast, and I'm like, who knows this piece of information so that we can get things done? Are we communicating? I know that's easier said than done in the tower, but still. I also don't love that there is, I understand what we're talking about. I just wish there was a better equivalent translation than the whole. I like to believe that I'm mature enough for that to not be something that like takes me aback just a little bit, but like sometimes I'm not. We saw a little bit of this when we were getting an explanation of what the ladle was. To be fair, he's a little bit crazy. Bit of a Mad King thing going on. That would be wild to walk in on. Like, you're just like, all right, we're gonna go see this prisoner. And they're like, whoa, I'm sorry, I wasn't expecting Satan. Oh, hello. You supposed to have the ladle? Democracy, we like democracy. I'm guessing from the confetti. But also, it's only like true being able to vote is good. I'm not gonna sit here and say that nobody's messed around with votes in elections before. Yeah, but if he just won, though, the people have voted. Maybe we don't let a child who's technically not a child because magic, but also not technically magic. I have to be careful with the words in this because there's like different levels of magic system in this series, which spell, which may not actually be magic in this case. Anyway, semantics. Not actually a child because frozen in time, but also basically a child. Maybe we don't let them run for office or the throne, crown. Look, if you lost the vote, you lost the vote. Okay. I don't know if you can say you were labeled as a traitor if you staged a coup. I feel like that puts you under the category of traitor, generally. Again, staged a coup, went against a vote of the people. It's given a little bit of a tyrant. It's given some hints of tyrant. I'm just saying. I don't know if either is necessarily the best choice for a leader, but I don't know, did you listen to the people? I don't feel like we listened to the people. I like how there's multiple conversations happening as we're in the midst of chaos. Did we try to change? I know that he was like, I tried to change it. I'm like, you tried to leave. Did you try to change it? Make it better? Because I'm like, yeah, I feel like you sat around watching TV saying, I don't want to be here, instead of like making a place you didn't mind being, right? Which one? Which he will die? Heljo, because he can't leave? I don't know. Oh, wow. Hi. So we're a little bit mad, a little bit upset. What a dramatic shot to just go back to this story. Long story. He's a lot. That's what he is. I feel like saying a tough opponent is like an understatement. But also we're on the eye patch side, so I don't know how to take that. Not the like that I don't think he's powerful, but I feel like maybe there's a plan, there's an idea, there's something going on. Oh wow, just property damage. Oh, sweetie, just a little feet. I hate when she's observant. Yeah, that's gonna be the plan, isn't it? Is that true? Which also complicates things because, again, if people are like, we want to stay here, and people that Heljo is referring to, like the people who don't want to change, who want to stay here, is it because they don't know that the ladle exists, that they don't know that there's an option that isn't potentially dangerous, right? You have to think about the fact that they're living in this world, they know what it is, they're comfortable there, despite the fact that it's not like great. Like, I feel like lots of us have experienced parts of our life. Maybe I'm just saying this as someone who likes predictability, don't like change. So maybe I'm like defensive on this topic, but you get used to something even if it's not like the best choice, right? Like even if it's not phenomenal, you're just like, I'm used to being here. You don't feel the same like discomfort of something that isn't necessarily the best scenario because you're used to something that's like meh or like in the middle, right, of your expectations. So if they don't know that there's an option that isn't like all of the uncertainty of we'll find some way to get out of here, right? If there isn't like a clear way to get out, then maybe that's also why they're choosing the status quo. Because they're like, you're just going to cause chaos and we don't know if we're actually going to get anything out of it if they were to choose Heljo, right? And if they don't know that there was like some kind of promise, then that would also cause issues too. If the plan was always to leave this place, then maybe that would change some minds too, right? That destiny thing, especially if like you have a following of people whose whole thing is this is destiny for us to stay here. And then if there's a backstory that's actually it was your destiny to leave, that would mess with a lot of the control you would have over that group. True. If people leave and you're like, yes, you can leave, then who are you ruling over? What power do you have if people can just leave whenever they want? I was also going to say, like, never trust anyone who like specifically says they will not abuse their power. I feel like we should just assume that people won't do. It's like when someone's they preface by saying that they're not like lying, and I'm like, now I'm suspicious. If you have to tell me that you're being honest, now I'm like, I'm suspicious you're not, because you had to specify. Because before I was just like, I'm assuming that you're not going to lie to me, and now I can't trust that anymore. Oh, that changes things up, putting them in the dolls. That's so creepy. And I know that everything about the floor of death has been creepy and unsettling, but especially in this case. So were all the giant bugs part of that too? Ooh, I do like that wording though. It was supposed to be like freedom, right? The ladle was supposed to be this symbol of freedom, this tool of freedom, and it became a sword of like oppression, right? It became like a way of controlling people and keeping them contained as opposed to freeing them. That's so interesting. Like, not just in terms of the imagery of that, there's a little bit of poetry to that, but also I think it really shows how, and this has been a theme in other parts of the story, of how anything can be used both as like a tool or a weapon depending whose hands are holding it, right? I'm thinking all the way to like Hats, right, where he just had like a random like metal bar that he found and he was just like, I can make anything a weapon and like using it the right way, which was a different circumstance. But I think that it adds to the same kind of theme of something that can be very benevolent, can be very helpful, can be this road to freedom for people, can also be a weapon if you control who has access to it, right? So I think that's just a really interesting image to bring into all the other stuff that we've been dealing with in this like season of like power and corruption and control versus freedom and even just like free will and gods and destiny, right? There's so many images of that, of these like opposing forces of both like feeling like fate or even like clarity of what's ahead versus like freedom and free will and choice, and how there are like pros and cons to all of those, right? There's not necessarily something inherently bad about being fated for something, as there isn't necessarily something entirely good about being able to make your own choices, right? Just because you can make your own choice doesn't mean that you know what you're doing, right? So I think it's really interesting to, again, bring a bunch of that imagery back to this specifically. Because a ladle in and of itself isn't like a scary thing, right? Like it's not a sword or whatever. And it's, yeah, I think of a ladle as like food or drink or whatever, right? It's something that sustains people. And instead it's being used in the context of something that is keeping people trapped, right? I like the little rallying cry. What did I say? It was like the best choice for everyone. I'm like, sometimes we can convince ourselves we're doing the right thing that is beneficial for everyone, even if it's not, right? Did we listen to the people? I will say the same thing to you as I did to Heljo. Did we talk to the people? I don't think that's entirely wrong. I feel like there's definitely... people have found out about the thorn fragments, and they have been trying to steal it, so... Exhibit A, or possibly like very far down the alphabet, a lot of people have been interested in the thorn. Again, destiny versus freedom, savior versus autonomy in a lot of ways, right? Waiting for something, that someone who's destined to save you as opposed to just doing things yourself. I also think it's very symbolic that we have an image of Rachel, given her relationship with Bomb throughout a bunch of this, where I just have to go after Rachel and that will solve everything. Like everything will be fine the moment that I'm with her again. That was so much of Bomb's story. And then a lot of this season has been him trying to figure out how to be a person with his own decisions, right? Outside of that, I think it's very symbolic to have her here, especially since she's in this weird place of wanting to be destined and important and like the savior of people, and is also putting in a lot of like deliberate choices and actions in order to like accomplish things, right? As much as I roll my eyes and scoff in her direction. Also, defying destiny, like when you're a nobody. Again, I'm all for an underdog story. I just don't want her to be the underdog story. Anyone else will be like, yeah, you got this. And then Rachel, I'm just like, no, fail, fall forever. This seems like a bad time. Are they thieves? They haven't stolen anything yet. Not the ladle, anyway. I love his little mittens. I know that's not the point of this, and he's being all like cool, stepping in. Little mitten hands. But also, cool power that we're bringing back. We set this up. We foreshadowed. Still a wild ability that he just has now. Good for a Dorsey. Coming in, helping out. That's a really cool lineup of those shots, though. Have this wider shot where we see the bong bong, and then like over his shoulder on the other side. It's just like a cool way of, it's simple, but it's like a really cool way of like changing the perspective, even like cropping in. I think shows a lot too. We get more of like the emotional reaction, even though he's like mostly cut off in the panel. We still get to see more of what's going on with him, which is like the whole point of getting to see like front facing as opposed to like behind here. I like getting to get some of that reaction shot to like the action shot before. It's those two in parallel. Oh wow, that seems, look, I've watched enough anime to know that when the eyes gleam, it's usually because they're about to go a little bit berserk. There's so much going on. Oh cool, that's fine. We got a tail, obviously. I really feel like Kun specifically being like, you're not interested in anything but bomb. Kun, sweetie, I'm gonna hold your hand when I say this. Pot, kettle. Why are we here? Right? Yes, true. Also, a little bit of a checkmate in that, like, getting the ladle seems to be our only way out of this place. So you have to help get it, right? Like, how else are you gonna leave the floor of death if you don't have the ladle? Oh, little darling. I do like the little minions. I know that they're, like, dolls or whatever, but I like them. Can we trust this one? Sachi, are we good? Everything's a long story. It's like, why are you in a near-death situation? Don't worry about it. Just move faster. How many times has that been? The communication between different groups of the series. Look at that form. Oh, did we notice? Yeah, the little bee. Oh, that seems bad. That seems not ideal. Oh my goodness. What eldritch horror is that? I know who it is, but geez. Something about it only being like a scribbled shadow is creepier than if it was detailed. You can't stab him. It's just, it's not allowed. I don't know how else to put that. It's against the rules universally. Oh, did that work? Also, did we save Kun? I don't want that. I like his vendetta. Observant. Also, great way of getting that reaction shot in like the background because we have the like weapon lining up to that, like leading. Great framing in this. Also, I'm distracting myself because, ugh, Rachel. I don't want to owe her anything. Ever. Not even a little bit. Yeah, all good questions. Why is she helping out? Because I'm assuming we want something. I guess because also that they have the ladle. And the ladle is what she wants. So she's, if I can stay on the good side of like Dahli and like the rest of them, that's going to be a lot better than being antagonistic and trying to get the ladle. Because she's a double crosser. And she'll probably just play nice until she doesn't have to anymore. Forever salty. I don't know if I'll ever stop being salty. I can see all the ways in which Rachel is like a great character from like a construction standpoint and like a narrative standpoint. I understand the purpose that she serves in the story, but personally, as a fan of this series, forever salty. Just casually being like, give it up. So we're not even gonna pretend. We're just gonna try to logic our way through this. Oh, okay, because it was personal. That's why we got under her skin with that whole like trying to go against destiny is foolish. No one. I don't know. A lot of people have some like religious vibes, and a lot of that has to do with like destiny, right? Like, if you believe in destiny and fate and all of that, is because you think that there's some kind of like grander design to life that you fit into. So there's quite a bit of that. It's called Tower of God. I don't want to agree with her, but the whole like you should have like autonomy and you should like make decisions instead of just like waiting around for stuff to happen. But also I don't want to agree with her. Are we also trying to be the savior? Are we going to use the ladle to be like, I will save all of these people? Look at that sassy hip. Also, the use of shadows in this chapter is freaking me out. Yeah, he's gonna fight you. Yeah. You're arguing with a fundamental belief system of somebody that usually doesn't go over well. Also, dang, my guy. I doubt it, but you tried. The way that he's just, no, there's no way that was enough. The casual, he's just like, that was far closer than I would have liked. That's what friendship is for. Escaping near-death experiences. We just dug a cave. This is what I'm talking about, okay? Picking a fight with Urek just seems like a really dumb idea. It does explain though why Heljo's like, nah, that won't be enough. That attack that just blew a new crater into the landscape, it won't kill them. No chance. Casual. But also probably helping the, like, panic of I almost died. Can't even use Shinsu. He dug a cave on the fly in a split second in the middle of a fight. I think he's fine. I have to hit him at least once. Oh no, man. I can't see your face and that freaks me out a little bit. What'd I say? This is him restrained. This is him holding back. I'm both scared and a little bit giddy. He's not gonna fight Bomb, so I'm like, he's technically on our side for this one because he's promised his heart to another. So I'm a little bit excited to see how it turns out. What a way to end this chapter, though. Wild. No more words needed. I need to rein in the giddiness. We need to focus. Kid gloves are off. Look at his little smug face. He's been up to a few things. I do think it's really interesting. We had the panel before with we saw one eye and the other one was in shadow. And now we're getting like because we could see the left eye and the right eye was in shadow. And now we have the close up on the right as he's, all right, let's do this. Full power this time. Oh, yeah. I was like, is Lady Yuri getting a shot in? What a shot though. What a composition. Dang. Whoa, everybody calm down. I love how Hockney knows stuff because he's like, in the future, he explains this. But does it cease to be are we in a paradox now? Because is he not going to explain himself in the future now because you've already gotten the explanation so you don't need to ask the question? Wibbly wobbly, timey-wimey stuff. Oh, definitely do not take a special drug from the workshop. Especially what if that hue? Oh, okay, we're not taking it. Good. We're drugging someone else? Maybe Lady Yuri had a point with the whole you should go to prison thing. I understand the joke that we were making, but I feel like maybe we're doing some sus things. Sorry, just the idea of calling something evil deeds is very like old-timey superhero, which fits for Urek to be fair, but it just caught me off guard for a second. They love the casual. Anyway, they want the fragments and stuff, right? So I get food being involved. I'm trying to think back now. I'm like, oh, this is going back to the discussion that we had on Patreon, one of my patrons, where it was like, I was joking, being like, I need a board to help me remember everything, especially since we keep referencing stuff. The workshop battles were forever ago. How many chapters ago was that? I'm like, did we see someone steal this? I feel like maybe. But we had all the stuff with Emily, which was also the liquefied, right, with Casino. I'm sure that there was a panel somewhere, and I was like, what's that about? And then I promptly forgot. Oh, are we okay? Maybe the reason that people don't want to follow you, Heljo, just putting out ideas, right? The reason they didn't vote for you is because you seem to have a disregard for their safety. And I know that there's immortality and all that, but still, even if you're immortal, it's nice to not be impaled or whatever, right? I assume that's a bad time regardless of whether or not it'll kill you. I love asking a basic question. And Heljo's, oh my god, you're so loud. Though as someone who is sensitive to noise, I'd be like that too. People like breathe too loudly when I'm like overstimulated and I'm like, I need you to be 1,000 miles away from me before I like cause violence. They're like, sure. This is gonna be quite a standoff. He doesn't seem to like his strength being questioned, which might come from he wasn't very powerful to begin with, right? Like having nothing and then being given immense amounts of power and control. People get a little bit vindictive, and by people I mean me. Again, I'm petty. I can keep a grudge like nobody, and I think that it's better for everyone that I have no interest in like politics or being an authority of any kind. Big business, none of that interests me. I just want to be like left alone. The old crone outside of town with the cats in the spooky house. That's my goal in life, really. And I think that it's better for the human race. That's where I'm at, because if I ever did get a position of like immense power, I don't think anyone would like how that turned out. He's got that aura. Meet cute? I don't know their vibe. They could just be bros being bros, and then sometimes you have to kiss the bros, you know, it's fine. Ooh, possibly rebound. That'd be rough, buddy. I'm sure that there's a fan fiction somewhere, but can I get an alternate universe in which this is put in the format of a rom-com? Am I gonna have to make that? I hope not. I hope that someone else has done that, because I don't need to be given more ideas. Oh my god, he was a good listener. Aww. Ordinary repairman. Why? What's your backstory? Who were you before? Wow, we threw a pathetic out there. So the breakup was rough. I'm sorry, I know there's like a certain group of people who will be annoyed with me for that. Come on. He described his eyes as like shining gems. I'm not saying that you can't say that to the bros and have it be platonic. I'm just saying he's waxing poetic. I do love all the space though, like the use of the gutters between, and then we just have this one panel. It's just dialogue and like the gradient. Like we don't get an actual reaction, and yet I feel like that says so much of the way that made Heljo pause. Right? To have anyone say that to him, I feel like he would immediately just go to like anger and we're getting the outburst. But I think the fact that it's Urek, like someone who knew him before and someone that he was friends with for all intents and purposes, right? To have that observation from somebody who knew you before to be like, you're so much less significant now, even with all of your power, right? I don't know. You lack vision now. You've given up. I was gonna say 2 against 1, and then I remembered that bomb is also here. Cool, we go to the lake. It's good to have somebody who can give us a play-by-play before it's happened. I don't know, man. I feel like Heljo is just gonna throw shots anyway. I just feel like Heljo doesn't have a great sense of I should be protecting the people around me. Didn't he already tell you to go after the other ones? And you just stuck around? Okay, well, Lady Yuri needs to calm down. Just like the cool guy pose as a bomb's running, basically. He just try to get us out of here as fast as possible. It's a cool like blur effect on that though. Why am I getting like a feeling that it's not gonna be? We said 1 hit was all it would take. 10%? Didn't we have 1 before? And I was like, that was wild. Is that why we were like, oh, there's no one around anymore? Cool. I don't have to play nice anymore. And even now I'm still gonna go easy. Yeah, valid. I'd be pretty freaked out too. Jesus. Are we like causing even greater ripple effects from it? Yeah. Oh my god, the scale. Well done in terms of like just giving us like a little bit of the sides of what's going on to be like, this is the scale of what's happening. But also, that's why I don't want to fight him. That's why I was like, can we have Urek on our side? Can he be friendly? Can he be an ally of some kind? Because the alternative is fighting that. And wow, I feel like maybe we will get there with the way that Bomb has been collecting powers like their Pokemon cards. Because I will always make a Pokemon reference in this. And given that Sio's already been like talking about being a Dragon Ball fan, I'm like, I know what kind of crazy levels we can get to with a Dragon Ball power system. So I'm expecting we're gonna get to some ridiculous levels eventually. But I prefer if we didn't have to fight Urek to get there, personally. Hello? You the assistant? You're just observing? Yeah, fair. But I think it's also, again, important to get the conversation that's happening here of even Urek being like, you're so much smaller now, right? You have all this immense power and you're less significant, because the thing that made him stand out, right, to Urek originally was you had this vision, you had this optimism. And I think that it goes back to Urek also going up against the bomb and being like, I find you interesting, because despite him being in like VOA mode still at that point, he was like, there's something about you. And that's what a lot of people in the tower have been when they meet Bomb, because there's this, I don't know, optimism. I was gonna say like innocence, but I think that is worn off a lot more. But there's this optimism of there can be something better, right? And that's what Heljo has lost. There's no way to make this place better. All I can do is abandon it. Urek's like, that's not the point. That's not what you have all of this more tangible power for, right? This authority for. And despite all of that ability, you get someone like Urek who comes along and is, your power doesn't mean anything. You're a big fish in a small pond, and that's why you feel powerful. And that's not the same as actually being powerful, right? Which continues to be a theme of what is actual power, as opposed to the leveling up system of people who are good in combat is not necessarily actual like power and authority, right? Did I go too easy on him? Wild to just throw out there. He's still alive though, so I guess in a way you did say 1 hit, but maybe we knocked some sense into him. Maybe some crazy veins happening here, my guy. Maybe we take a deep breath, a little meditation. Also a wild image, like everything's settling again. Yeah, again, saying like smaller as well, to just be like, you're less significant to like Urek specifically, and him being like, oh, you're just another person craving power and authority, corrupted by that power and authority that I have to fight. Like Urek does this all the time, and we've seen some of the interactions that he's had with other people all the way back when we first met him in person, where he was like, I'm not interested in this game of power and deals and playing each other, despite his kind of ridiculous old-fashioned superhero vibe, which does make sense that like Heljo, given the TV and the comics we saw him with at the beginning of his story, it makes sense that he would like think that someone like Urek was cool because he has some of those superhero vibes, but also there's this feeling of wanting like that optimism, wanting that change, the rebellion, right? Of just being an irregular. Like inherently Urek's existence goes against all of the power and authority that is currently going on in the tower, right? And he wants someone who can change things, and he's, oh, you're just another one. You're just another administrator. You're just another person craving power. You're just another person stepping on others to get to like greater heights. I've met thousands of you. That's not interesting to me. That makes you small. That makes you insignificant. That makes you just like another tally that I don't care about. As opposed to someone who had that spark of optimism and hope and like intrigue of Heljo being like, I'm going to figure out how this works and I'm going to get everybody out and I'm going to find solutions to this problem in a creative way because I don't have the power to just take it. That's the person that Urek was like, I'll help you. That's the person that he was like friends with, which again goes back to Kun and like Rock and Shibisu, like a lots of people from season 1 talking about Bomb were like, the person that they are friends with is the one who like signed their paper all the way back in season 1. That's their friend, as opposed to Violet or like all of the immense power that Bomb has now. That's not the person they're friends with. They're not friends with a super powerful person associated with Foog and like all of the other madness that's happened in the season. They're friends with Bomb, right? That's who they know. Also, we had the reference to the repairman. You were just like me. Like, I don't know if it's like exactly like repairman, but it's like you were just a person and I'm just a person. And then a bunch of power was bestowed upon us or like whatever. And now we're something else. Same with like Bomb though, right? Like again, all the way back in season 1, he was just a guy with definitely some special stuff going on, but he was just like regular person and wasn't like this legend of Violet or whatever. You made them submit to you though. That's not the same. That's, again, it's giving some tyrant vibes. Are you? I feel like you're throwing a tantrum, which isn't exactly being the best. Yeah, you're gonna have a very rude awakening about this. Are we gonna snap our fingers and it's gonna be fine? We're tisking him. It's giving a child throwing a tantrum. And Urek's like, okay, you want to behave like a child? I'll treat you like a child. Yeah. Yeah, I don't think you know what the power of a god looks like. Again, big fish, small pond. Of course you think that you're the best. No one around here is challenging you. Dang. I also think that it's also worth noting that like Urek's attack 10% and Heljo just basically took the shot and survived, as opposed to Urek who's, oh, you tried to attack me and I completely wiped out your attack before it could even get to me. There's a difference between withstanding an attack and like actually stopping one, right? Yeah. It's like I said, the reason that Urek sees him as small is because he's seen people like this before, right? And he's, oh, there are so many people like you outside of this floor, right? You're stuck in this small pond of your world. You're stuck in this well and you think that it's the whole world. But in reality, there's so much more going on out there. You stopped being curious about it, right? That's part of the spark that made Heljo who he was as well. Maybe he was just Joe at that point. But wait, it's part of the reason he's called Joe. I don't know how this translates to other languages and cultures and stuff, but in English where I'm from, you say that someone's a regular Joe as just like an average person. If that's the reason, I think I'm gonna have to break something. For every cool name in this series, there's another one that makes me like Hockney. I'm like, that's just an artist. You named your artist after an artist. It's fine. Anyway, did I finish my thought? I don't even know. I got derailed by my own thought process. Also important to be like, you can't really control it. It's like messy. It's grungy because no one's picked a fight with you that can seriously take you. Therefore, you haven't had to refine your ability the way that like Urek clearly has. Again, he's fought a lot of people. So I've had to be better than other people because that was the only way I survived this long. No one's challenging you in this world, right? Like in this floor. The baby is wild. What is it actually in the Korean? Is it an endearment or is it just like wee child? I need to know which baby we're dealing with. The casualness of, could you just do this for me? He's like, yes. Also just casual. It's a cool design though. Anyway, dang, we're just like ping-ponging around and we're like, I need to have a casual conversation. Yeah, he does seem a little bit scared, but angry. Like, we seem to be like pulling on the anger as a way of justifying our feeling. And if his attack depends on his mood, right? He might be like pulling on that anger and that frustration because that's the way that he can make his power work, as opposed to someone who's trained it enough that they don't need to rely on that to have a consistent pool of power and ability to pull from. Love this of him, like he's literally above, right? Like we get a panel of Heljo literally looking small in comparison to Urek. Yeah. Are we upset because people didn't like you? Love the like inversion too of like the way that Heljo is standing here and then here. Very similar. You can see how they would blend together, past and present. Oof. And there's the fear. Because you didn't used to be scared of me, and now you are, right? Like, you're afraid that I'm actually going to hurt you. That's part of what comes with, like, power, right? Is that, like, you're afraid someone's going to take it. Because that's what you did. The way that you get that, like, the way that Heljo got this authority was to take it from other people. He was like, I forced them to submit to me. And we've seen that with a bunch of other people who have these power within the tower, that even hints with Jihad, right? Of him being, like, that being, I need these groups to fight each other. I need the princesses to fight each other. I need the families to fight each other. I need the month weapons to like inherently be trying to get people to fight each other, because the alternative is they become powerful enough that they could take from me. And I know that's what people with power do, because that's what I did, which is not the same here, right? We're like, it looks like I don't need to take your power. I don't want this floor. I don't want your authority. That's not what I want. And that's why he's not attacking him. Oof. I think we need to, like, again, meditation, maybe. Deep breath, at the very least. Are we going to separate again? Are we using the drug? Oh, is that who we're talking to? Again, different, again, like, almost possession. Again, we had all the stuff with Bum of talking about, like, his inner power, his inner self. We had with Lady Yuri, the possession happening there, and we're having a similar thing here of, like, power, like, corrupting from within. Wild image, though. I don't need to draw it. I don't need to make art. It's fine. He seems unfazed. That sounds interesting. You would transition of, like, back to everything with Rachel. Girl, you are not the savior they're looking for. You wanna be, but you're not, and we all know it. I mean, it is like that, isn't it? Where people are like, no, that's the wrong savior, because if they were the savior, they wouldn't say they were the savior or whatever, right? There's always reasons of going around it, because it's, no, they can't be the savior because they don't agree with what I want. So clearly they're not the savior. You'll get the thorn fragment, but they have no reason to help you with that. How are we doing, sweetie? Huh? I like how we're just, like, standing here listening to this argument happening. Like, we're not leaving, we're not going somewhere else, we're not put a plan together, sneak attack, getting involved of, like, stop arguing. I was gonna say, we set this up with a shot. I'm like, I'm assuming that's gonna be an issue at some point. Oh no, Rachel's being attacked. That's the cliffhanger we're ending on. Crazy. Can't wait to read the next chapter and find out what happens. I'm gonna assume that she doesn't die here. That would be, like, too good to be true, I guess. Great couple of chapters, though. Like, I think, yes, there was, like, action and stuff going on, but I love that a bunch of the action was interwoven with, like, more stuff going on in terms of, like, character and backstory and motivations for things. Everything between Heljo and Urek is around more than just, like, they need to fight each other, right? I feel like some of the stuff that we've gotten in terms of action in the Floor of Death and everything going on with that was just, we need some action, there's, like, stuff going on, we need, like, there to be stakes, and we need to get from, like, point A to point B, right? And those, I'm like, I don't feel like I have a lot to contribute to that, because I don't think that there's really a lot for me to pull apart. Like, even Lady Yuri going up against Heljo or Gadam, that, like, little fighting part, I'm like, I don't really feel like I have anything to contribute to that conversation, because I don't feel like there's as much going on in terms of character development with that. It's more like setting up other conflicts, setting up, I'm assuming, some powering up for Lady Yuri that we're gonna have to loop back to and stuff like that, whereas this one feels like there's some important character stuff happening. We're learning more about Urek, we're learning about Heljo and, like, how he got to this point and why he's making the decisions that he is. And I think that it all ties into a bunch of other stuff, like I was saying, going through the chapter that we've set up for this season. And I think that's why we're referencing back to, like, workshop battles, is the difference between someone who is, like, the destiny and fate and also kind of deified by people. I think it goes back to Violet in a lot of ways, because Bum also had given up at one point where I just have to do this, I just have to be Violet, I just have to work with Foog, like, I don't know what else to do other than, like, bide my time and see if there's an escape route. Whereas, like, now we're seeing him making more decisions for himself, we're seeing him get back that kind of spark within him. And I think that is a similar thing going on with Heljo of having that spark, having that curiosity, having that optimism of something better. And now it's, I can't see this as a place that I can change, right? I can't see these people as someone I can help. They're like other than me, right? I'm something separate. I see myself as an outsider, and the only thing I can do is give up and leave, as opposed to trying to fix the problem or listening. Like I was saying, did anyone ask the people? Have we talked to the people that live here and asked what they want? Because they voted and they didn't vote for you. So I feel like we aren't listening. But I think it's really interesting to put a parallel story with everything that happened earlier on with Violet through a different lens, through, I think, like a little bit of like a crash course version of it. But I think it's always interesting to see that story from a place where Bam is like where he is now, and how he can see the parallels while also being different. And I think it shows that there are a lot of people within the tower who feel a similar way to how he does, and have also been in that similar position of, I don't know how to change how things work. So they've given up and hoped that like someone will come save them, right? Like the whole savior thing. And Bam sparks that in people, sometimes not in a great way, because they're like, you're the savior and you just get to do everything. But then once they spend time with him, realizing that they get to be part of that, right? Like everything within Dorsey, right, is a reflection of that. So I feel like it's a similar thing here of Urek could see the potential there and wanted Heljo to do something better, to be someone who could rewrite what was going on, especially in a place like the Floor of Death, where like it could be really cool because it doesn't work with the same rules as everywhere else, right? So there's so much potential there to do things differently in a way that is like positive and constructive, and yet here we are, right? Maybe Heljo just needs Urek to knock some sense into him, like he said, but also like maybe take the power back. That's like the more easily pointed to power, right, in terms of power scaling and ability and like combat, and give him back the power of like that optimism and having that vision for a potential future that isn't just, I've given up and I'm waiting for something better, instead of making where I'm at now the best that it can be, right? So I hope you enjoyed reading that along with me. You can click this playlist to go into my previous reactions, or you can subscribe to me next time I post a Tower of God video, and I will see you in the next video. Bye.